Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Elliot Brown here in the Essex Business Radio studio again, and I'm coming out to you guys for another compelling part of the series, C-19, How We Deal With It, where I'm chatting to people absolutely everywhere about how they are dealing with COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you want to say it is. But it's here, and how we are pivoting and changing and coping with it. And also any ideas and tips and advice they've got for you guys out there, not just in your business, but in life as well, possibly. And today, joining me from here in Essex, or just down the road in Colchester, is James Cracknell from The Weave. How are you doing, James?
Very well, thank you. Very well indeed.
Good. I'm pleased to hear it. It's nice and sunny there. Look, I mean, we've got some sunshine here in Essex today.
Yeah, definitely. Makes all the difference.
It does help. It does help in these more challenging times. Listen, we just had a very interesting conversation before we started recording, and I think I've got to know you a little bit. And I had no idea who you were before. Well, obviously apart from the notes, but we didn't know each other. I feel like I do now. So tell me a bit about The Weave, if you don't mind.
Okay, so the Weave is our latest startup and our latest project. It stems from the fact that we worked very closely with the primary resource providers for business within the region. So work very closely with the enterprise agencies, with the local authorities, Colchester Borough Council, but most importantly, and I guess just recently, quite closely with the University of Essex and through their entrepreneur program, which they've now sort of set up, and which was I was in a very fortunate position to help develop and grow down at the Innovation Centre on campus. So the Weave was very much about how we weave and interlace those resources of the region and present them to entrepreneurs, aspirational entrepreneurs within the community. There are three things I think that we cover pretty well at the Weave. I think there's the capabilities of people in developing them and creating capacity within them to help them grow and scale their businesses. There are the connections and the networks that we help develop and grow through our community down there, and also the wider community of Essex, North Essex and Suffolk. And it's cash, because now within the university space, there's an awful lot of new ways to engage with different sources of cash. Now, whether that's equity, whether it's through crowdfunding or whatever. There's lots of different ways now that are opening up down at the university that will help businesses and entrepreneurs actually start to understand how they can then fund, develop and grow their businesses going forward.
Great. So literally exactly where I'm coming from in business, and we had a conversation before. Absolutely love the ethos behind that as well. Very much about helping and supporting the SMEs, which in essence support the whole economy. And I know from what we both spoke about before we recorded that. I'm a firm believer that these are the people that are going to help to bring the economy back up again. Coming up very soon.
Yeah, really. I mean, if you've got a situation where you've got a startup culture which is very aspirational and really driven, and you're putting in that infrastructure, and you've got a lot or a broad community around technology and around innovation, where actually our strengths are in terms of the creativity and the work that we do with businesses to help them reconnect to a new normal, reconnect to another vision of where their business needs to be. And inevitably, when we're working with businesses, there's this issue about what they've done in the past, not necessarily getting them to where they really want to be in the future. Yeah. It's not that they're letting, they're not that the past has no relevance to that. It absolutely does. It informs their entire decision-making process. But if they're going to grow and scale, it's business model innovation at the end of the day that will ultimately create that ability to unleash the resources and the potential that those businesses have. And I think that the startup communities and the businesses that we work with down there, and not just down there, but across Essex and across Suffolk, they are the ones that we see really empowered by the idea of creativity and that new area of development. Yeah. And I think there's some really, and the other stuff that I love at the moment is the fact that you're actually getting time to see businesses who are doing well, and not just doing different things in terms of kind of connecting to new markets or whatever, but just reinventing and rethinking what they're going to do, reimagining what this future will ultimately be, and trying to position themselves in a way which is going to be a real driver for the business and ultimately for the region itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think they're the catalyst for the change as well. They've got those minds, those entrepreneurs with those smaller businesses, the micro businesses, as we spoke about earlier. I think having the ability to adapt to what's going on right now and seeing things and change their business is the key to sort of moving forward. But how's this affected what you do as a business per se right now? I mean, obviously, where you were working and things. Obviously, where you're working from home, but that's obvious. How else has it changed your sort of, your approach to what you're doing right now?
I think from my perspective, it's given this time has given me a time to reflect on our pathway for the Weave and for what we can do, that's in putting us in the best position to support those businesses out there.
Right.
So it's a time of reflection. It's a time of reimagining what we're doing. There are challenges. Yes, I'm working from home, like all the businesses that I speak to. There's the dog barking in the background. How do you do all of this kind of stuff? And there's the disciplines of being consistent and having a kind of a weekly marker that allows me to move forward. And I think that was one of the things that, as I was saying to you earlier, before we started recording, about when I got made redundant in 2011, I set up a thing called the Colchester Executive Job Club, and that was about creating a marker in the week for people who were previously, in the world of work and corporate, stepping out of that world to change, and you lose your anchors, you lose your positioning. And I think that is happening for a lot of businesses at the moment.
Yeah.
So one thing that we're doing, say for the Weave, is that every week we create the Weave Huddle. So that's what we deliver, an online forum on a Tuesday. We've done it at lunchtime. We're going to switch it to a breakfast meeting going forward. And it's just about bringing people, the community, together on a weekly basis to create a marker in the week that allows them to engage, not in a formal networky style cross-selling, but very much in a relaxed environment where we can have a chat, discussion, look at the challenges, things that are going on, but also look at what's happening in the wider world, what's happening in politics, what's happening in social, in the social things, what's happening in the technology trends, all of this stuff at the end of the day that is still getting done, getting funded, getting delivered, that is happening in the background, that we're very, very busy either surviving or just perhaps, spending time reflecting, that we're not necessarily absorbing lots of different things. So that's what we try to do every week: create a forum, create a place, a safe space for people to come to listen, to engage, just have a cup of coffee, sit down, whatever, and just do that. So it's definitely changed the way that we view the value that we bring to businesses and how we would potentially support, develop, and help them get at least a bit more grounded before they then before we go back to whatever we go back to in the future.
So, what sort of businesses are they that you sort of you're sitting down with virtually at the moment?
They're a mix. They come from all different sectors. So we've got some which are IT based. We've got a marketing organisation that's involved. We've got a podcasting company. We've got kind of different backgrounds of different businesses at different stages. There's some student businesses, so there's some quite innovative technology-driven businesses as well.
Okay.
So it is a broad mix. I work for the enterprise agency, which is the Colchester Business Enterprise Agency, as a business advisor and supporting them. So a lot of those businesses that we get to see are the bread and butter style businesses. They don't matter to us whether you run a dog daycare centre or whether you are delivering a technology solution in whatever. Everybody has challenges that are very, very similar.
Oh yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's about community and networks that will support people through that, and giving people that. I think one of the biggest drivers for us is that connectivity is around geographic region. We love where we are. I'm sure you do the same, but when you stand outside your door on a Thursday evening applauding the NHS,
Yeah.
real sense again of community that you're getting. People love where they are and being a part of where they're based, and that to us is very much about those values, about what we're trying to instill. So we've got a broad mixture of businesses that we work with, different people, different challenges, but they all have a common feature. They love where they're coming from, and they're aspirational. They want their businesses to grow, and our job is to find the resources that will help them develop those three core elements of, capacity, cash, and connections.
So even at the moment, that's a big part of what people are sort of struggling with on the sort of financial side, and that obviously currently the grants and that's a very grey area with what we class as apparently self-employed, although maybe employed by our own businesses, but self-employed nonetheless. A very grey area. Is this something that's sort of come up in conversation quite a lot with people that you know?
Yeah, there is. It is, and I think one of the biggest challenges, if you are, say, for instance, a limited company with just one person, which is yourself within it, you can't furlough yourself. Particularly, you may be able to physically, but there are lots of challenges of doing this kind of thing and accessing this kind of support and mechanisms. So it is a confusing minefield out there, as you would expect, because a lot of this is being delivered from the hip. A lot of this is being sort of thrown into the mix. And that's probably why it took them so long to figure it out. Whether it's the right solution, I've got no idea. I've got my own view that there are better ways of doing stuff. But at the end of the day, this is, what we.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It is what it is. So yes, the challenges of finding that information is there. So again, what's great with being involved with, say, with the Enterprise Agency and the Colchester Borough Council is that there are resources that we can funnel and channel into that kind of environment. So one of the things that we do on our LinkedIn group is very much, basically every time we pick up a piece of information, it goes down there, people can access it, they can understand where it's coming from. Again, the Enterprise Agency, we're supporting people online every week, three or four business advisors, all of who have got those resources and access to those resources that can help people through the myriad of what they need to do.
Yeah.
It's something we don't have every answer under the sun, but
well, of course.
One thing that we do know is that if we don't know the answer, we can go off and find out where it is. We know the relevant sources of the information to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think generally what I get from people at the moment, as I was saying earlier on to you, is that in any crisis, there's always a raised level of noise. And I think that people felt drowned to a degree by the amount of noise that was existing there. Everybody switched their model to a digital online version of what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And then the issue you have constantly then is how does that make me relevant? How do I stand out above the crowd?
Of course.
I've got to say that's going to bring that person to me and that. And then there's this period of silence, and it's this kind of notion that it's only really happening to me, but in reality it's happening to everybody. A lot of businesses are silent, and that's a challenge. And I think that's again one of those great things about being a part of a community. It's about letting go of the fear and embracing the fact that we're in this together, and really sort of kind of being a part of something which is, which we're all going through in some shape or form, and that's what we're, trying to ultimately provide.
Yeah, and I think you're doing a great job by the sounds of it. So, what are you going to do to change what you are doing moving forward? Have you got sort of plans? Are you been sort of structuring anything new and different? I mean, you're talking about everybody going online, and they are. Again, you're absolutely right. Before all this happened, getting yourself out there into the marketplace through social media, through marketing, was not an easy job anyway. It's going to be even harder now. I mean, it's one of the easiest ways to get out there still, but it's still going to be, there's even more noise than before. So, what are you doing to look at what you do to sort of, to help everybody around you, but obviously change what you're doing to make sure that it's relevant to helping them as well?
So one of the things I'm using my time and using this sort of kind of time as well to do a lot of research around different new technologies to underpin what we're trying to do. And one
Yeah.
of those technologies, we're trying to develop a challenge platform that basically is backed up by the technology around blockchain. I don't profess to be an expert, but I'm doing an awful lot of reading and research about the value of this particular technology.
Right.
And to be fair, I love what it sounds like. I love that what it appears that it can actually deliver and do. So our models are changing, where the way that we talk about our business is changing.
Yeah.
I think is a really important piece of work, because whereas we were talking very much about one area of discussion around the community and around workshops and training and development and that kind of thing, now we're thinking, well, okay, we're still very much a community orientated business, very much about engaging with a broad audience, but the platform is now becoming much more of a central part of the narrative about what we are and how we then end up developing that. So one of our co-founders, Magda, she was talking about how we shift our language from the language of service to the language of product, which then becomes a lot easier for people like investors to actually then understand where we're going with our platform and what we're trying to achieve. And I think that creates something which is more tangible and more concrete. And it also allows people to actually then start to engage with the idea of a physical piece of, if you like, a product that they can actually
for sure
invest and actually get involved with. Whereas before we were very much more talking about community service, that kind of area.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a really big sort of shift in the language, and it's not done naturally. And that's part of this whole education process. So getting myself ready to talk about the business in a very, very different kind of dialect and a different vocabulary.
Yeah. And I think you've absolutely nailed it there. I mean, we were talking about, again, before we started recording, and but we're talking about products and services. That's a real mix now. It's a melting pot. What the service that you're providing is going to be a product. So where we did have physical products, which are just things, in the business world, those products are a service-based thing that can be done and delivered through some format like this, for example, or very much like this now, I think, moving forward. Very interesting. I'm definitely going to be keeping in close contact with you with regards to this. It sounds like there's a pot of help there in Colchester to help the small to medium-sized businesses that you're sort of heading up there. And I love what you're doing. I really do. And I know before we spoke, I said we're definitely going to be keeping in close contact and want to get involved with what you're doing there for sure.
Lovely.
Thank you very much for your time. I mean, that's really, really good. I think we should definitely touch base again and maybe do another one of these and see how things are going over the next few weeks, as we're just about to get into phase 2 of lockdown. So we'll call it that. It sounds way friendlier than just lockdown, I think. But yeah, let's see what these next few weeks do for everybody. I think, as you said, I think now this has become the new normal. So this is where everybody's going, well, that's what it is. And I think even more creativity can happen in the next few weeks. So it'll be interesting to touch base with you and see where that goes.
Yeah, it'd be great. That'd be really good. And I'll take this opportunity of wishing all your listeners a very safe and healthy lockdown period.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, I really appreciate that, James. And as I said, we'll touch base. Where can people find you, James?
The best place to get me is actually on LinkedIn.
Okay.
The Weave is on LinkedIn. James Cracknell is on LinkedIn, not the rower, so don't get me confused with him. I think I'm a better dancer than he was as well. So get in contact with me, find me on LinkedIn, I'm more than happy to connect. Very happy to introduce people to what we're doing and how we're going to work. And yes, you and I need to stay in contact.
Definitely, for sure, we absolutely will. Great stuff. Well, we'll make sure there's a link around the post so that people can find you anyway. But yeah, thanks very much again. Appreciate your time, and have a great weekend, and good luck with phase 2.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Take
All
care.
right, so that's James Cracknell there, and a very, very interesting conversation, and chat about what they're doing down there in Colchester, here in sunny Essex. If you want to know more about James, obviously check out the link that's around this post. There'll be a post or near to this anyway, and on social media. And if you want to know more about Essex Business Radio, then please check us out on www.essexbusinessradio.com. There are all the links for social on there. There will be some articles on there, and there may well be some articles about James and what they're doing as well coming up. So check that out. And also, there are links to all the socials, but also you can download our free app where you can listen to all the podcasts, new and old. Thanks again, James. Really appreciate your time. And so I'm going to sign off for now. Ciao for now. Brown cow.